Jay back again. I've just been looking at my last video up on YouTube, the one on Kyrgyzstan, and I've been looking at the comments at the bottom of the video, primarily by the Muslims, who are upset by one of the things I said concerning how much of the Islam that we see in Kyrgyzstan was imposed culturally, and that Islam does this quite a few places around the world. I can see their anger. I can see why they would be upset by that. But it seems fascinating that the very same thing is being evidenced again. Here we find last week, we're not the end of June 2007, last week, for those of you who have remembered what's been up on the news, Salman Rushdie, the infamous or famous novelist, has been awarded, or will be awarded, a knighthood. He'll be called Sir Salman Rushdie. There's a ring to that. And there's a lot of Muslims around the world who are quite upset by this, particularly in the Indian subcontinent, from where he is from. In Pakistan, the religious affairs minister named Ejaz ul-Haq has said that suicides now can be justified because this, and I assume he means suicides bombing here in Britain. You will remember this is the son of Zia ul-Haq, who used to be the dictator, the prime minister at that time, who was the one that initiated the 295C law, the law which stipulated that anybody that confronted or anybody that said anything desultorious against the Prophet or the Quran could be executed. It would be a capital offense. It stands to reason. His son now is basically carrying on that same legacy. Here in this country, Lord Ahmed of Rotherham, the first Muslim to receive a peerage, the first Muslim who is now part of the House of Lords, when talking about Tony Blair and this knighthood, said, here is this man who has blood on his hands. And I have to scratch my head and say, hold on a minute, Lord Ahmed, who's got the blood on their hands here? Blaming the victim not in any way is going to help your position whatsoever. The blood that is on their hands is obviously Khomeini, who back in 1989 put this fatwa on Salman Rushdie because of the book that he had written in 1988, the Satanic Verses. Satanic Verses, which I have right here. This book here that caused such a storm there in 1989 because it poked fun, it mocked basically the Prophet, it mocked the Quran itself. It is referring to two verses in the Quran, the Satanic Verses that are well known in the Quran, from Surah 53, Ayah 19 and 20. I'm not going to read them now, and we're not going to really get into that at this point. We'll probably do another video just on the Satanic Verses and why all this difficulty and why all this anger. But certainly at that time in 1989, there was a huge unrest all over the world. And of course, it is this book that not only the Pakistanis, but Lord Ahmed is referring to. But here's the irony. The knighthood that's going to be conferred on Salman Rushdie is not because of Satanic Verses. And I think the Muslims are missing something big here. And they're basically, again, trying to take their agenda and impose it on the West. They're, again, another example. We saw that example last year with the Danish Cartoons on Muhammad there in Denmark, the riots that happened all over the world, with when the Pope made his speech concerning Muhammad. Look at the enormous reaction right around the world. Here in Britain as well, almost every Muslim I talk to, has been upset with the Danish Cartoons and has been upset with what the Pope said and Lord Kerry said later after that. Fascinating. We're just getting example after example of Muslims try to impose their censorship, their view that you may not criticize the Prophet, you may not criticize the Quran. But that's not what this night is about. No, it's not about this at all. Now, you may want to ask, why at this time are we having this knighthood? Well, I think the timing is because of Tony Blair. Tony Blair, remember, when he came to power in 1997, his minister, Robin Cook, was the one that was able not to eradicate the fatwa against Salman Rushdie, but was able to at least neutralize it by getting the Iranian government to agree that they would not carry out such a fatwa. And so that's a great feather in Tony Blair's cap. Now, he is leaving office. In fact, he no longer is in office. He will be giving over the reins of office completely to Gordon Brown on Wednesday. And so obviously, as he leaves, this is a great legacy because it brings around full circle that which he began there in 1997, being fulfilled 10 years later by bringing and uplifting and basically acknowledging the work of Salman Rushdie. So what work are we talking about here? What is this knighthood for? Getting back to that same question. It's not Satanic Verses necessarily that he's getting a knighthood. And here's where Muslims are missing the point. It's another work that he did, his second novel called Midnight's Children, that was awarded the Booker Prize in 1981. And it is this work that he's receiving the knighthood for. Muslims may not like any of his works. I'm not a particular fan of Salman Rushdie. I've read parts of Midnight's Children. I certainly have Satanic Verses here, and I'm in the process of reading it right now because of all this furore. But I find it fascinating. If you read Midnight's Child, you will find it is a very valid work. It's certainly won the highest prize in the English-speaking language. In fact, it didn't just win the Booker Prize, it won the Booker of Booker Prizes, which means a prize that is given to one piece of work that is considered to be the best work in the last 25 years. No other Indian has ever won that kind of prize. No other Muslim has ever won that kind of prize. And yet this particular Muslim, Salman Rushdie, apostated. He turned his back on his religion. He did more than that. He wrote about it. He mocked it. And it is for that reason that the Muslims do not want him to get a knighthood. That's the real agenda here. Muslims know that this is the most celebrated novelist in their ranks. This is really the only one that has really made it in the English-speaking world, acknowledged right around the globe, certainly not only by those who are also literary agents, but also by those of us who do read his work, as one of the greatest writers of our time. To have a man of this stature reject his religion and then mock his religion. We'll get into that, whether he mocked it or not, but certainly to say things about it that the Muslims do not want to have being said in public. It is for that reason that they want this knighthood rescinded. It is that reason that they are angered. But here's the problem. If we're going to start rescinding knighthoods, if we're going to start censoring people because of what they say, we're going to have a problem. We're going to have a difficulty. We're going to have enormous amount of difficulty right here. Why? Well, because if you start censoring people what they're going to say, then what are you going to do with YouTube? Look at my videos. I say an awful lot there that you Muslims do not like. In fact, it's obvious you don't like them because look at your comments. Look at the videos you put up against me. For that matter, just take a look at all the videos you Muslims put up on YouTube. We've counted 43,000 videos that you have put on YouTube that attack Christianity. If you want to start censoring free speech, if you want to start censoring the ability that we have, one of the great freedoms that we have here in this country, Speaker's Corner that we go down to every Sunday, is the bastion of free speech. If you want to start censoring that, you're going to have to start censoring yourself. Is that really what you Muslims want? Do you want to bring down YouTube? Do you want to stop all these great videotapes? The ability to debate, the ability to go back and forth, and yes, to confront each other with some of the things that we believe. See, any religion worth its salt, any religion that claims to be a universal religion, claims to be the final revelation, claims to be the arbiter of truth, as both Islam and Christianity do, must be open to criticism. Has to be open to criticism. Otherwise, it's not worthy. It's not worthy to be a world religion. Islam is one of the few religions that does not like criticism, which seem to suggest that Islam has some problems that they don't want the world to know. Salman Rushdie has uncovered a few of those problems. Not even great problems. He could go much deeper and do an awful lot more damage if he so chose. We're uncovering some of these problems, and I can see why Muslims are angry. Please don't get angry, and please understand, we don't have to agree. We only have to agree on how we disagree. Violence is not one of those. Censorship is certainly not one of those. Thank God for Salman Rushdie, and thank God that he's going to get his knighthood. This is Jathan, over and out.